Welcome back to Trip of Change, the Jackie Robinson Show podcast. Trip of Change is a weekly podcast hosted by Jackie Robinson and produced by Dana Bach, with some of the top thought leaders in the areas of LGBTQIA+, use of pronouns, gender identity, voting rights, intergenerational conversations, news, and feature interviews with industry leaders. Our goal is to provide listeners with key takeaways and actionable advice for having a better understanding of the people we interact with around the world. Let's start the show. You know what? I just had a little technical difficulty on the little intro there. Okay. So we'll just talk about what the Trip of Change is. I think that will suffice for today. As a matter of fact, I got a new microphone. Okay. So I'm starting a little something a little different. I got a nice microphone, and I'm also using my Ray J earbuds today. And so we just had a little technical difficulty, but what this is, Trip of Change podcast, the Jackie Robinson Show, is an opportunity for me as a boomer to share my experiences as I travel around different places and I meet different people, and also to highlight some of the things that are important to young people, to different generations. And part of the Trip of Change is to bring information about binaries, non-binaries, the LGBTQ plus community, Black History Month. We highlight different females and males that are doing things in politics and entertainment and various other aspects of life. And what I do want to say about the Trip of Change podcast is that we're not like a lot of the other YouTube channels that you see where people are more or less talking about salacious things or gossip. That's not what we're about. And so if you're interested in learning things that will help you to be able to communicate with young people, then we invite you to be a part of our community, the Trip of Change community, because we know every day we experience a trip of change, whether it is a mental trip of change, whether it is a physical trip of change, but something happens in our lives where there's something that affects us. And the main thing for us, Dana, would you agree, is that we want to share information, important information that you can use when you're out and about in mixed company, right? Right, girl?
We want to be very open-minded, very open to learning, very open to listening. I think listening is a very important thing. A lot of us could learn more about and accepting. So very excited about this journey. Exactly.
A lot of times as boomers, we feel like we know it all sometimes, but there are other things that we can open our mind to learning and experiencing, because we have kids, we have grandkids, some of us have great grandkids, some of us are teachers that influence young people, some of us are volunteers and we're out in the community. And so because things are changing in terms of being accepted and how young people want to be accepted and how they want to be identified as, this is the purpose of the Trip of Change with Dana Bach and myself on the Jackie Robinson Show. So with that being said, that's Trip of Change. All right. And so I want to take care of administrative things and highlight our sponsor. Our sponsor is Healthful Essence, a vegan, as a matter of fact, it is a Caribbean soulful vegan vegetarian restaurant here in the Atlanta area, 875 York in Atlanta. They have excellent vegan vegetarian food with soulful taste. A lot of times people think that vegan vegetarian food is bland, but not in this case.
Not at
As a
all.
not at all, Dana. As a matter of fact, they have an international following. They have people that come from all over the world to come and experience Healthful Essence. And Healthful Essence does offer a discount when you order online with the Clover app. So you can order from their website, which is helpfulessence.com. That's HEALTHFU, two L's, LLESSENCE, helpfulessence.com, and use the Clover app to order your vegan vegetarian meal, right, Dana? So when you come
Right.
to see me, of course, we're going to go visit Healthful Essence.
Every day. Yes, yes.
All right. Healthful Essence at healthfulessence.com. Thank you, Healthful Essence. We appreciate the continued
Thank you.
support. Yes, we do. All right.
I'd like to point out that my internet connection is pretty good today.
Yes, it is.
We've learned, as we all do in this life, that that my internet wasn't working where I was filming previously. So I've moved back into the house close to my router, which is important when it comes to the internet. And I have 3 bars, and I'm really excited to be here.
Oh, I'm glad to have you. Okay. And you're right. You know, as we begin to grow, okay, the Triple Change channel, because see now I may be freezing a little bit since I added this little microphone. Hopefully people out there can hear me. They can see us. And if you have any comments, please feel free to reach out to us. You can find us on tripofchange.com. And we want to again encourage you to go out to our YouTube channel, which is Trip of Change. And like I said, we are unlike a lot of the other channels that you may be used to that talk about gossip, that talk about things that are going on that, you know, maybe relative to you. But for us as a boomer, we're trying to get information out there that'll be helpful to you, right?
Yes.
Sign up for our newsletter so you can have firsthand knowledge of upcoming shows because March is coming and we got a fantastic show lined up for the month of March. That right, girl?
That's right.
Okay.
Now March has a like, this is Black History Month, of course, and so March has a special month that we're going to be featuring. So it's Women's History Month. So we're very excited about that because there are so many amazing, powerful, and smart and dynamic women out there that we are excited to share with you and to highlight.
Exactly. So be sure to support our podcast, sign up at triplechange.com, get on the newsletter. Also, we accept Cash App. We would love for you to support our channel, but mainly we want you to go out to our YouTube, Triple Change, and become a subscriber.
Yes.
And become a subscriber. Okay, so now let's get into the show.
I want to share with you that I think is so fascinating. So last weekend I flew to Los Angeles to go see my son Mac, as you know, and similar to travel to Hawaii, Los Angeles County is now making you register as a visitor to the county. And so they did a survey afterwards to see how your experience was and all that. And it said,
national park, at the national park, or just in
no, just in general, to fly to LA County, to fly to California. And then they did a survey afterwards. And they asked, what is your identified gender? Select one that applies. So they had female, male, but they also had transgender, cisgender, genderqueer, gender nonconforming, and other. And I thought, so we were talking about this, how the airlines were going to be one of the industries that was going to lead the way. We discovered that, of course, Delta Airlines is committed to that, as we hope other airlines are going to be. But I just thought that, like, this is, of the moment. This is so important that we are now giving or allowing and offering qualifiers for those that don't fit in one box or the other. So anyway, I wanted to share that because I thought it was really.
I'm glad you did. So how did they pose the question on the form?
It just, the question says, what is your identified gender? And it says select all that apply. So it wasn't just saying that you have to select one. So I thought
Wow.
it was really just a wonderful step forward.
Absolutely. And for those of you who are just tuning in or have not had an opportunity to see our previous episodes, that's what we talked about. We talked about pronouns and how to be respectful of young people who want to be identified in a certain kind of way. And I know for me, I'm still learning. I'm still learning. And so every now and then I might slip up, but this is the purpose of this podcast, a trip of change. I'm changing my way of thinking. I'm changing my way of interacting, especially with young people. And as we get into for Black History Month, who we're highlighting, she talks or they talk about, they talk about how it's important that we help young people as they go through life and experience different things. So, with that being said, oh, I know what I want to ask you, Dana.
What's that?
So, when you were in LA, did you visit another national park?
I actually went to a national park unit, so not one of the 63 national parks. I went to a unit, the Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area, and we went hiking around up there, which was amazing. There was a fairly famous lot called the Paramount Ranch, which is where they filmed a lot of Westerns back in the day.
Oh.
But most of the buildings perished during the 2018 fires, but we were able to see an old church and an old train station that was up there and hike around that area. So I got another stamp in my National Park Service book.
A trip of change.
That's right.
Yeah, you got another stamp.
I got another stamp and I took another amazing hike and got to see another beautiful area. So, nature is my jam.
Right. And so what that makes it what number? 96?
Oh, I'm not quite. I think I'm 74.
Oh, give
know.
or take. Give or take.
I'm gonna hit 96 by June, though. I'm gonna hit 100 by my goal is by June. So
what a goal! So let's drink to that.
Yay!
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Oh, me too. All right. Okay. Let's talk about our let's do this first. Okay, we have to do our administrative end of this, and this video contains some sensitive information. The sole purpose behind making this video is to spread love and information. We hope it will increase your knowledge and understanding of the LGBTQIA plus community. The video content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. Trip of Change does not make any representation or warranties with respect to the accuracy, applicability, fitness, or completeness of the video content. Trip of Change does not warrant the performance, effectiveness, or applicability of any sites listed or linked to in any of our video content. Trip of Change hereby disclaims any and all liability to any party for any direct, indirect, implied, punitive, special, incidental, or other consequential damages arising directly or indirectly from any use of the video content which is provided as is and without warranties. And with that being said, we had to get that part out the way.
Cheers.
Okay. Cheers to that. Cheers to our disclaimer.
There we go.
Okay, here we go. So I'm going to go ahead, Dana, and share this screen. Share the screen. Let me get to it. and it's going to be a window. And let's do, can't do that one. Here it is right here. Share this. No thanks. Okay, now. Okay, let me see if I got this right. All right, can you see the screen, Dana?
Sure can.
All right. So we want to continue to celebrate Black History Month during our last episode. This is the last episode for February. Recently, we discovered an amazing list of 80 non-binary celebrities. Our favorite on the list is a trailblazer out of Oklahoma named Maureen Turner, the first non-binary state legislator in America. Turner was elected at age 27. That's a major accomplishment. Now, according to CNN and the LGBTQ Victory Fund, which is a national organization dedicated to electing LGBTQ people, there are currently 4 known genderqueer or non-binary identified elected officials serving in the U.S. and 5 public LGBTQ elected officials in Oklahoma. Turner is the first non-binary person to be named to a state legislature. Now check this out. Turner defeated a Republican candidate to represent in Oklahoma, girl.
Oklahoma, yes.
And girl, look, and she won 71% of the vote, of the votes. Now, Turner identifies as non-binary, which is defined as gender understood as neither male nor female. Turner uses both the they, she as pronouns, and we're still learning about they and she, according to her Twitter profile. As an activist and community organizer and native Oklahoman, Turner has spent most of her life fighting for issues such as immigration rights, racial justice, and criminal justice. Now, living as a Black Muslim American queer woman in the state of Oklahoma, Turner says she experienced not being seen or heard by lawmakers. And that is what young people are saying. They want to be seen and they want to be heard. They want to be respected and they want to be identified the way they want to be identified.
Yes.
Her campaign ran on a platform of seeking to drive conversation about what inclusive representation looks like. And that is Trip of Change. It is an intergenerational conversation to find out how other people think. So, as a boomer, if you have questions, you don't understand something, we invite you to send us an email or go out to the website and sign up for our newsletter. And now she says that it has never been a more important time for the next generation to see themselves in our government. And that is so true.
So true.
It's so true because there are things that are going on that are not really for the benefit of the people. And so we need to elect people that will look out on our behalf, right?
Yes.
Right. So it has never been a more important time, to here we go. More important time to
I have it for those closest to our state's problems to be structuring the solutions.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
How empowering, right? To be the voice for a generation or many generations, multi-generational, and to be able to make change.
Yeah, but that what I also found interesting is that she's not just fighting for LGBTQIA plus rights, but she also includes immigration rights, racial justice, and criminal justice.
Yes.
All important areas.
And we're going to get to the criminal justice system down the road. So we're very interested to see what she has to say about that.
Yeah, be interesting to see if we can get her on as a guest at some point.
That would be wonderful. Yes.
That would be wonderful. That would be wonderful. So that is our highlight person for Black History Month. As we said, we're rounding out Black History Month. It is the last podcast for February, and then we will move into um, March. We will move into March. Let me see if I can.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hey.
Hey.
Well, cheers to our last podcast of February and on to
For
March.
February and
Yes.
into March. So be sure to go out there because it is National Women's History Month, and we've got a whole show lined up, several shows lined up for the month of March. Now, about 2 weeks ago, I was out at the library and I had an assignment. The producer, Miss Bach, came by, gave me an assignment to go to the library, a reading assignment. You know, and I had not been to the library in a long time. Usually I have a library card for every city that I've ever lived in. And I forgot how fabulous the library can be. You get so used to, you know, just ordering stuff on Amazon, you know, whether you order a hard copy or you download an audio book. But you can go to the library and get books and keep them for like 30 days. And if you don't finish them, you can extend your time with that book. And you can also get audios. You can download audios from the library as well. So I'm at the library and I had an opportunity to meet a young person named Zariah. And, you know, my crazy self, I asked her the question because we were talking about the subject and it was the subject of our upcoming podcast. So I just came out of left field and said, "Are you binary or non-binary?" And she was taken aback a little bit, like, "Okay, where is this woman coming from?" And so when I explained to her about the trip of change and our purpose and our goal in getting a better understanding of what binary and non-binary means and pronouns and what that all means, she was very open to having a discussion, not only with me, but with also her cousin. So, what we're going to do for this podcast is I recorded a separate short video with them, and it was an awesome conversation about pronouns and the opportunity to talk to two Generation Z individuals because sometimes, Dana, I get confused about which ones are the Z's, which ones are the X's, which ones are the Y's. I know I'm a boomer, but the order of succession, I kind of get a little confused. And so Z was the last one added, right?
Yes. Last. So I'm
Okay.
Gen X, and then the generation coming up now is Gen Z.
The Z's.
Yes.
Okay, so that means they're much younger than I am. Okay, and so they were able to discuss the importance of pronouns, acceptance, and empowerment. And so in this video that we're going to play of my conversation, I learned how to properly ask people what pronouns they prefer. I don't always get it right. But again, that's the purpose of Trip or Change as we continue to bring you these podcasts and as we continue to meet people while we're out and about. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. Okay.
Yeah, you are.
Because this is a learning experience because what is it? A trip
Of change.
Of change. Now, one other thing I want to mention about these two individuals is that they are dedicated, Dana. They are dedicated to giving back to the community. Zariah puts together little goodie bags, little goodie packages, and she delivers them to the senior citizen home on Saturdays. And then Otto, whose real name is Autumn Rivers, volunteers in the political arena. She's working with a candidate right now that she didn't want. That they did not want to name, but as we talked about, our highlight uh, for non-binary celebrities, Marie Turner, I can see where Otto fits in to working behind the scenes in politics to affect some change. So,
Yes.
you got anything you want to say before I roll this video?
What's great too is that Otto is actually out canvassing for their candidate, during the interview, and it's great because they're putting flyers up on doors and knocking on doors, and working hard and doing the hustle that it takes to campaign. I mean, it's very, very challenging work. So we were just so pleased that they both had the time to talk to Jackie.
Exactly. While they're out and about, it was like, this is the work that we're doing, but we're going to take the time to talk to you. And so we really, really appreciated that. So let's see if I can go ahead and bring up this interview that I had with them. I got to find it. Let's see. All right. Let's go with this one and share. Yes, hello. This is Jackie Robinson for another episode of Trip of Change, and I've got two special guests with me today, and I'm going to bring them out from out of the green room and let them introduce themselves to you. So there's Zariah, and I'm adding Oto. Hi, ladies.
Hey, ladies and ladies, what's good?
Oh, okay. Oh, see, that's why we need this conversation, because as a boomer, I'm just really learning about the different pronouns and the different generations and the different genders and the terms. Because when I was coming up, really, it was just the pronouns that I used was I, me, she, and her. But things change. Everything must change. Nothing stays the same. And so during my era, Zariah, I mean, I had protests. There are things that we protested against. And so now as we move into the 21st century and some different things, as a boomer, I want to understand about young people. And that's how you and I got together.
Yep.
Because I was at the local library doing some research on the LGBTQIA plus, and Zariah had a booth set up outside the library, advocating for a local health center for seniors. And so, Zariah, go ahead and introduce yourself and talk about how we met and how you decided to come in. Because thank you for coming in on the show.
Of course. Hey, everybody, my name is Zariah. I'm from Atlanta. And yes, we met while I was doing a tabling event at East Point. And she came up to me. She was like, "Are you binary, non-binary?" And it struck me. I was like, "What is this?" I wasn't sure, but I was open to it. And she actually gave me a little bit more information because I did not know how to answer that question. But I do find like I am a part of the LGBTQ community, so um, it was just nice to see somebody that's a boomer that's interested in it, because I find that a lot of people are interested in it, but more in a negative standpoint. They're just like, "Oh, it's not meant to be like that. We ain't do that." But things are changing, so I'm glad that you are trying to get a better understanding.
Thank you. And that's a question that came up when I was on a recent trip in Las Vegas. I was asking my traveling buddy about these pronouns, and I didn't really know how to respond to young people and the pronouns. And so I appreciate you bringing your cousin Otto on. Hi, Otto. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. My name's Otto. That's my chosen name. Some people have a dead name. I have a birth name, and my birth name is Autumn. I'm a community organizer. I've been working in politics since 2017. And yeah, I met Zari when she was born. She's my dear first cousin. She's my first cousin. And our family has a lot of people of the LGBTQ experience in it. So I'm glad that we can be here to speak about, these topics as a family. Thank you for having
Correct.
me.
Yes, and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to come on and help me to get a better understanding, especially in the African American community. A lot of times we just kind of look things over, we kind of sugarcoat things and just keep moving. Sometimes we in denial. Sometimes it's in the back of our head, but we don't want to talk about it because there's like family secrets. And no one wants to really be vocal about it. So, and that's why it's interesting that I've gotten to the point now where I'll come up to young people and I'll ask them. And Zari, I'm gonna have to do better with my question. Are you binary or non-binary? And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Okay. And so, I don't know what happened to Otto, but I want to talk about, are you binary or non-binary, and what does that mean to you?
Right. So I guess speaking for myself, I am non-binary. I use they/them pronouns. Not all non-binary people use the they/them pronouns, but I found that that's what feels most comfortable for me. Um, I'm also like not speaking on behalf of my employer or anything like that, but I am in community with a local person who's running for office who's non-binary as well, and um, on their campaign literature, they use they/them pronouns, and a lot of people um, are trying to assume their gender, saying he or she, but they also use they pronouns, and I just try to gently correct them and say they. Um, I guess do you have any question? What was the question again? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, I was asking, and I think you answered it as a non-binary person, but Zaria, you identify as binary, but you're also an ally, correct?
Correct.
Correct. So I guess what we usually say in the community is, what are your pronouns? A question kind of similar to yours that I like to ask people when I feel like maybe they aren't in the binary is, do you have a gender? That question's a little bit more abstract, but for some people, the answer really is no. Um, so I definitely think it's worthwhile to explore these questions. But I think the standard language is just, what are your pronouns? And Zaria, I believe you is she, her. So she's a woman, and I am a non-binary person. Yeah.
And that's interesting because, again, as a boomer, in my approach to get more understanding, I want to be able to ask the right question and not be offensive. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's why, this conversation is very helpful. So, I mean, when I looked up pronouns, I know the standard pronouns, the ones that I go by as a binary person, but there are so many different pronouns, and then there's these new ones like ZIE, and I don't understand like ZIE and some of the other ones.
EIE.
How did it expand into almost 78 different pronouns?
So I can speak to that too a little bit. So I use they/them pronouns, which have been used, I think, for as long as Black folks have been in the American community. In the countries we came from, things like age hierarchies and social status colored life a little bit more than gender in every situation. So even though it feels really natural and modern to recognize people as just men and women, like there were other categories historically, and especially when we came to America as a group, there was some safety in using a mixture of pronouns, whether we used he, she, or they, for people that we knew, just so that slave masters didn't know who people were talking about. and i
Wow.
think and I think the modern contemporary version of that is just saying like them, they, even this is not a very great example, but the term thought, just like that hoe over there, like it's a non-gendered term. And I feel like, there's just like a lot of gender variance already in the community. A lot of people, you know, will hear singers and they won't know the gender of the people their whole lives, and it kind of doesn't matter. Like, if it's a good song, it's a good song. So I think there's always been gender diversity in the Black community. It's just a matter of not assuming things about people and asking, like, what do I call you? What are your pronouns? And even with people that you know quite well, checking up like every few months, like if they start to present differently, asking again, like, what can I call you? Or what do you go by these days? I think those are really casual ways to still, you know, be casual about people's identities, but still make sure that we're not assuming and we're asking, and yeah, making sure that people feel seen and heard about who they are. So that's kind of more language and more historical context for why different pronouns exist and people use different pronouns.
Well, it's interesting that you brought up thought, okay, and you brought up, the slave time, the slave terminology, that, the secret language that was used in order to be able to survive. And so my question to both of you all is, how does being Black or African American fit into the description of yourself?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was saying that, we talked about these different identities that we have within the Black community for the LGBTQIA. And so my question is, how does being Black or African American fit into your description of yourself? Let me put it like this. For a long time, Zariah, when I would fill out applications and it asked you like your race, and they had other, there was a dot for other. And I would put the dot for other and say human, because I myself did not want to be categorized or put into one box. I say I'm human, and I still do that to this day. But I noticed that there are a lot of companies and a lot of corporations that are now opening up their questions, their applications, their online systems to be able to use pronouns. So the question is, how does being Black or African American fit into your description of yourselves?
Well, that's job hiring thing. I'm like, do they know I'm Black? Is that why they're not? But I'm like, my name is Zaria, so obviously they know I'm Black even just from my name when I'm applying. When it comes to my sexuality and being Black, it's a huge community, but I know it's hard to find people in your community that's accepting of all the other alphabets part of the rainbow. So it's very hard. They have apps, but it's still very hard to see people, because you can see somebody and they identify one way or have another sexual orientation. So it's questions is very important. I'll say that.
What about you, Otto?
Yeah. Likewise, I think it's definitely important to me to identify like with myself as an African American on applications or as a Black person. When it comes to ethnicity, I guess I consider African American to be like the governmental ethnicity that's kind of
Okay.
handed down to us.
Okay.
But if I'm able to write in anything, I like to say Gullah Geechee, because that's a callback to the multiple Black ethnicities that make up, you know, the African American experience. I think I also tend to say other or decline to answer when things get specific about my gender, just because um, I'm still figuring it out, you know, like I don't know exactly how I want to identify to disparate organizations. And I think, you know, from my answers, they can kind of assume that I'm in that transgender, gender nonconforming category, and, you know, process their data accordingly and say, you know, this part of the community doesn't identify or identifies a little bit differently. And hopefully that is good data for the communities that I give that information to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's kind of how I've been dealing with that question lately.
Now, as we move forward into 2022 and on into 2023 and beyond, do you find positive acceptance from family and friends and coworkers?
Most definitely. Like a lot of times you see now they're talking about equal employment. They really, when I see commercials, they'll definitely include a person of the LGBTQ community.
Okay.
More inclusive now. Um, it's going to take a process. Hopefully, more people are open out. The media that people freely express and accepting.
Well, what I've noticed on internet TV, there are more shows, there are more sitcoms, there are more documentaries that are now discussing openly the very subject that we're talking about. Because again, I'm old school. I'm a boomer. I was born in 1953. Okay, and so why you let you smiling, sorry? Yeah, I'm 60. This is the last year of my 60s, and so as I move forward, want to get a better understanding and have a more positive impact on change within the community. So, Otto, what are some of the challenges that you face as a young Black person that identifies with the LGBTQIA community?
Um, I'm a very lucky person. I think that, being from Atlanta, a place that's always been about civil rights and human rights, has kind of given me a community of especially strong, like, Black women leaders who understand where I'm coming from, why I have sometimes felt at odds with my assigned gender of being a girl or a woman. Um, and, even though people, I'm organizing in a lot of intergenerational spaces, I find that, a lot of people end up coming out to me saying, like, I feel like a form of gender variance and gender nonconformity in my expression. I still use she pronouns. I still identify as a woman, like a proud woman, but I understand the nuances of, being a caregiver, being a provider for your household, and, having, interest in, like, mechanics and sports and things that are not the most feminine, and actually being able to lean into those things. And so I've definitely felt like a lot of intergenerational support. I think the most challenging thing has been, definitely trying to figure out, like, a family life, being paid the same as men. I think sexism, just catcalling, like, I think I experience a lot of the same sexist discrimination as women. And I'm just lucky that the world is growing more accepting of gender nonconforming people, but, of course, people will sometimes not see you for who you are. They'll misgender you, but I'm very lucky to be in Atlanta, where people are very understanding and are fighting sexism in all of its forms. So, yeah, very
Well,
lucky.
let me apologize again. At the top of the show, I think I used the pronoun that does not really identify with you. And again, I'm learning. And that's the purpose of what I'm doing. And I appreciate you and Zariah taking your time out to come on and talk to me as we move forward with more discussions. And so the last question, because I know y'all, Zara said she gonna watch the Super Bowl, at least the halftime of the Super Bowl. Okay. So I'm not gonna take any much more of your time, but the last question that I want to ask you is, what do you want the world to know about acceptance? Zaria.
So that's a loaded question. Well, really, if you just believe what somebody's telling you, especially when they're trying to tell you how they identify, just accept it, because it won't hurt you, and really, you gendering them can hurt their feelings. Like, I don't know. You should give me a second on that one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll piggyback on what Zari is saying. acceptance saves lives. You know, going beyond tolerance, saying like, you know, you're always gonna be my daughter, but I'll love you anyway. Like, it's not cool to invalidate people for who they are. And it can cause people to have like suicidal ideation, occupational stress, you know, just low self-esteem. You know, it can cause people to not, you know, have the families that they want to have, to not go out for the jobs and, you know, the relationships that would serve them best. So I think it's so important to preach acceptance because, you know, we accept a lot in our society. We accept low wages, we accept, you know, climate change, we accept, you know, all kinds of like horrible things. So I think accepting people for who they are is what's actually going to move us forward.
Easy. It should be easy, right, Otto?
It
should be easy with everything else we deal with, you know, to just deal with who people are and support them no matter what. So yeah, I think that it's just really life-saving to accept people in your life that are gender variant.
Okay, Zariah.
Oh, we're back on me. So yeah, piggybacking off of Otto, the least you can do is just accept what somebody identify as, because even that's just a small aspect of who they are, and you shouldn't hold that over somebody's head. But it means a lot because that's how they identify. So just accepting that and can help people just move past so much and let people really live their lives the way they want to. You don't have to live in a closet behind or just trying to pretend.
So if we can accept the difference, because I remember when we used to have Mr. and Mrs. Remember? And when I was coming up, if you weren't married by the time you were 30 years old, then you was an old, whatever they used to call, say that whatever that old maid or something. And then all of a sudden there was the MS. Okay, so now if I'm not married and I'm not a Mrs., I can now identify as a Ms., a MS. And so that was a trip of change. And so what you guys are offering, not only to me, but to the listening audience, is a trip of change. A trip of change does not have to be physical. A trip of change can be a mental change. And that's part of the show that I'm putting together, is we need to go on a trip of change and start being more accepting of the young people who are our future leaders in the world. So Zariah and Otto, thank you so much for coming on and taking our time, busy time, time out of your busy day. I applaud you, Otto and Zariah, for the things that you are doing in the community. And I want to know more about you guys. Stay in touch with me, okay?
Of
Will
course.
do, Miss Jackie. And whoever's listening to this is a sign. If you feel like things are not going right in your workplace, organize, organize, organize. I'm reading a book called Secrets of a Successful Organizer, and it's a good starting place for anyone who's interested in organizing against workplace discrimination, which so often happens to gender variant people, mothers, caregivers, everybody. So if you're hearing this, this is a sign. And I hope you have a great day.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. See you at the library. No, see you at the health center.
All right. There.
Okay. Bye-bye. Wow, that really enlightened me. I'm so glad I got an opportunity to talk to these young ladies about their experiences, and I am grateful for them taking the time out today. This has been Jackie Robinson on a trip of change, talking to two young women, Zariah and Otto, about pronouns, gender pronouns, and how we as boomers can understand and be more accepting of young people in the way they want to identify. It's a matter of respect. So take this trip of change, take this broadcast, and make a difference in your life and the lives of others. Thank you so much.
What I want to talk about is for next month in March, We're going to be focusing, of course, on Women's History Month, which we've talked about. So we're really excited to get into that subject matter and to introduce you to some really amazing women. We also just realized, because the internet's so full of wonderful information, that Wednesday, March 2nd, is World Teen Mental Wellness Day. And we really want to talk about that and the importance of mental health, of course, but especially for the young generation, because they've had so much to deal with COVID, 2 years of COVID, and just how that's affected mental health. And now that we are possibly getting to the point where some of the mask mandates are going to be lifted, what that looks like for young people and how they're going to kind of emerge out into the world again, hopefully safely. So it's going to be a lot of wonderful subject matter. We're excited about it.
Just that particular video is, again, where we're talking to Zariah, who, by the way, is has invited me to come and tour a senior citizen health center facility, which is in walking distance in my neighborhood. I love my little neighborhood. I can walk to a lot of places. And so I'm going to go back and visit with her again and probably do a blog post about the senior citizen center that they've added to the community, because we need to have excellent health care for our seniors. And so that particular video, again, it really delves into Oto talking about the importance of being identified and being addressed the way they want to be identified and dressed. Wasn't that right,
Yes,
Dana?
very much so. And they also had some wonderful talking points about how accepting their families have been, which is so wonderful, and how they feel so supported, and just and to help educate us, Jackie, on how best to inquire about what some of these pronouns are. And so it was really an amazing conversation. We hope you can get over to our YouTube channel to check it out.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And as our podcast grows, again, we invite you to offer any questions or any comments that you may have in terms of your experience, and we could touch on those particular areas as we grow our podcast and come up with future topics to discuss. Okay. So, Dana, you want to talk about some of the things that we're going to be doing? I think we have the schedule. Do we have the schedule? We got the schedule here for what we're going to be doing in March. Mm-hmm.
So on the schedule, we are going to be next week talking about National Women's History Month, women providing healing, women providing and promoting hope. We're going to be also talking about the global, not just US, but the global World Teen Wellness Day, and how important mental health is to our young people and to everybody, really, but especially.
Let me add this, because the topic or the theme for this year's National Women's History Month is women providing healing and promoting hope. And so we both thought it was important to pair those two together, the World Teen Mental Wellness Day, because as women, as boomers, as Gen X's, it's important that we support our teenagers and our young people. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, and then throughout the month, we're just going to bring you more amazing stories about amazing women, and then a couple surprises along the way.
A couple of surprises along the way. I'll drink to a surprise. Drink to a surprise. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another thing that we hope you do is connect with your friends more, connect with the people you love more, because that's what Jackie and my story is. We became friends so long ago, and then we realized going through this pandemic, and then I had cancer during the pandemic, which is not recommended, that we really need to connect with the people that we love and that bring us joy and that make us laugh. And that's what our friendship's all about. And I'm just so happy to be here with Jackie.
Thank you. I'm so happy to have you. And that is important for us to be able to grow those relationships, those true relationships with our family and our friends. And so we want you to come on out to tripperchange.com. We will be posting articles. We will be posting blog posts. We will have events, things coming up. And we might even have a contest of one or two and offer some prizes that you can win. But the main thing is we also want you to go out to our YouTube channel, right, Dana?
Yes, that's
Go
right.
to the YouTube channel and subscribe. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. The more the merrier. Oh my gosh, did I let's see. There it is. Instagram. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go out to tripperchange.com and be sure to sign up on the newsletter. Again, we're not really soliciting for money, but if you want to make a donation to our cause, we would happily accept it and be able to support a nonprofit organization with your donations. Okay. Again, send us your email addresses, sign up. And again, thank you to our sponsor, Helpful Essence. Helpful Essence. If you're in the Atlanta area and you want some soulful vegan vegetarian food, you go on out to Helpful Essence in the West End. Okay. Got anything else, Miss Dana?
I think we're good. Just remember to go watch that video on YouTube because it's really, really great.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Okay. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Until next time, take a trip of change.
There we go.